Magic, Michael, LeBron, and Emoni Bates. That was the title for the Sports Illustrated cover that a 15-year-old Emoni Bates appeared on. At the time, that didn't seem so crazy. The kid, by all accounts, was the next generational great. And when I say generational, I mean generational. A level of greatness that transcends sports to the point that when you say Emoni, the first person that comes to mind is Emoni Bates. That's the type of great he was supposed to be. As a freshman in high school, there was already belief that he might be the best player in high school basketball. He was held in such high regard that many colleges didn't even want to attempt recruiting him because they didn't want to get their hopes up, believing they had a chance of him playing for their school, with many also believe that the NBA will open the doors to letting high schoolers into the draft again, and that Emoni would just skip college altogether because the year he declared for the NBA draft, he was almost guaranteed to be the #1 pick. That was the reality for Emoni Bates just a few years ago. And tonight is the 2023 NBA draft, where Emoni Bates will be eligible to be drafted, and every mock draft and every draft projection has him as a late second round pick to potentially undrafted. Words can't describe how astronomically low Emoni Bates has fallen. One day he was being compared to the greatest of greats, and the next day he was just another guy who might not hear his name called tonight. The first question that comes to mind when something like this happens is what went wrong. And in today's video, I'm going to try to answer that. So if y'all do me a solid, hit that like button and subscribe, that would be much appreciated. And with that said, let's get into it. This is what happened to Emoni Bates. Emoni Bates was born on January 28, 2004 in the University of Michigan Hospital in Ann Arbor to parents EJ and Edith Bates. His father EJ was no slouch as a basketball player himself, playing college ball at Kentucky Wesleyan and professionally in Switzerland, while his mom was also a pretty good athlete playing basketball at Clegg and then Ann Arbor Huron. With such an athletic family background, it was no surprise that Emoni found a love for the game early on, as his father said that at the age of 1, he was sleeping with the basketball in his crib, and by the age of 3, Emoni would pick up the basketball and just dribble all day, dribbling so much that his parents would tell him to put the ball down because they were tired of all the noise. His love for the game only continued to progress from there, as by the time he was 5 or 6, he became truly obsessed with basketball, spending all his free time working on his craft, dribbling and shooting, and not just half-assing it or playing around, but actually going hard with actual intensity. At that point, his dad really noticed the work ethic and killer mentality and knew that his son was going to be special. So he honed in on him and made sure to guide him down the right path, making sure to understand the journey and what it was going to take to reach his destination. Letting Emoni know that basketball is a business and that you have to carry yourself a certain way, and that basketball is more than just a game, and that you're going to have to put effort into all the little things on the side, such as school. As a rule in the Bates house was that Emoni wasn't allowed to pick up a basketball unless he was done with all of his homework. All of that work and focus being put into Emoni's basketball journey would pay off early, as by the time he was in the 4th grade, he was playing against high schoolers in different rec leagues, as well as dominating the 4th grade AAU circuit, eventually gaining national attention in the 6th grade during a tournament in Chicago where he averaged 28 points and 12 rebounds per game for the Toledo Wildcats, an AAU team. His notoriety only continued to build as he traveled around the country competing against the best and dominating the competition in Houston, Dallas, DC, Chicago, Alabama, etc. Basically anywhere he went, he showed out to the point that he became recognizable, and by the time he was in the 7th grade, he was ranked as the best 7th grader in the nation. Now, with so much hype around his name at a young age, it's easy to become content and complacent and just let the hype go to your head, but that wasn't Emoni's mentality or character, as he really relished in the idea of being the best, and in his mind, the people that is considered the greatest worked the hardest, so there was no time to let up. Plus, he needed to get used to the new body, as between his 6th and 7th grade year, he shot up from 6'2 to 6'6, and in his 7th grade season, he continued to go off, averaging 46 points per game at Clegg Middle School. He also had multiple 30 and 40 point games playing for his dad's AAU team's Bates Fundamental. His performance on the court was so amazing that opposing coaches had to let their team know not to take it too personal, as they pretty much just played a future NBA player. And let me remind y'all, he's only in the 7th grade at this point. Now, after routinely blowing out other kids his own age, his parents had come to the conclusion that he was just too good to play for his middle school for the 8th grade season and opted to just do personalized individual training. This more than likely rubbed his middle school the wrong way, but his parents didn't care, as they understood that if he continued to play that level of competition, he would just get bored of basketball, as he was a walking 99 overall max badge player playing against 60 overall zero badge kids. Even though he skipped out on his final year of middle school basketball, he still decided to participate in Nike's EBYL the summer following his 8th grade year. He played in the under 15 division and averaged about 17 points per game as one of the youngest people in that division. Heading into high school, Emoni had some big decisions to make, like will he stay in his local area and attend a public school, or will he opt to attend a private school such as Detroit Country Day, where Michigan native legend Chris Webber attended. This was a big decision for Emoni as it will impact his development as a basketball player. In the end, he and his father believed the best thing for his development would be to attend Lincoln High School, a public school in his area. The reason behind the decision being that head coach of Lincoln High School was Jesse Davis, who was a longtime friend and teammate of Emoni's father, EJ. Plus, Lincoln already had other guys that were familiar with and have worked with and been around Emoni pretty much his whole life, and Daryl Hudson and Ryan Sidney. To EJ, it was important to have people who already have a relationship with his son continue to work with his son because he knew that he could trust them and they would have Emoni's best interest in mind. EJ would receive confirmation that he made the right decision pretty early on, as Emoni would make his freshman season debut on November 26, 2018 against Ann Arbor Huron. Emoni would go off for 32 points and 15 rebounds in an 80-69 win to start his high school career. He will have his biggest game of the season against Lincoln's rival, Ypsilanti Community High School, where he dropped 43 points in a 68-56 victory. Emoni continued to have big game after big game and helped Lincoln reach heights that the school has never reached before. Now, while Emoni's season was great, it wasn't perfect, as he did get suspended one game for an altercation with Dexter senior Ryan Trinkle. The altercation was caused by Dexter feeling some type of way after Emoni straddled him after a putback dunk, but outside of that one incident, Emoni's freshman season was pretty great, and things only became more magical during the playoffs. As in the game against Skyline, he went off for 26 points, plus hit the game-winning 3 to lead his team to victory, 58-55. He followed up that amazing performance with another one against Detroit Catholic Central High School, dropping 36 points and hit another game winner, this time a tip-in to lead his team to an 81-79 victory. Emoni then went on to beat Detroit King in the quarterfinals, dropping 17 points and 10 rebounds, and then followed that up beating Howell in the semifinal, dropping 31 points and 14 rebounds to get 17th ranked Lincoln to the championship game against number 1 University of Detroit Jessup. In the biggest game of the season, Emoni did what he was supposed to do, and that was lead his team to victory, dropping 23 points, going 8 for 8 on free throws, which the team needed every single one because the game was so close, with Lincoln just clearing enough space to win 64-62. As in Emoni's first season of high school ball, he helped lead his team to their first state championship. He ended his freshman season averaging 29 points and 10 rebounds per game, along with a 23-14 record. For his performance on the season, he was awarded Michigan's Gatorade Player of the Year and Max Prep's National Freshman of the Year. He also earned Associated Press Division I Player of the Year and an All-State First Team honor. At this point, Emoni is on top of the basketball world, as article after article has mentioned him as the best prospect since LeBron, and many of them believe that he can make an impact even at the NBA level, even though he was only 15 years old. The hype only continued to build for Emoni after his AAU team, Bates Fundamental, went head up with LeBron's son AAU team, Strive for Greatness. And though Emoni and his team got blown out, he still showed why he was the best prospect in the nation, dropping 43 points and 11 rebounds in that game. Now, the hype surrounding Emoni reached an all-time high right before the start of his sophomore season, because as a sophomore he appeared on the cover of SI magazine, and the title on the cover said Magic, Michael, LeBron, and the 15-year-old who's next in line, pretty much bestowing him with the title of the next face of basketball. At this point, the expectations were ridiculously unreal, as they were basically saying that this kid is going to become one of the 5 greatest players in basketball history. You would think at this point he got to be feeling some pressure from the expectations that were being bestowed on him, but you would be wrong, as Emoni relished in the expectations that were set for him, as he didn't just want to be a top 5 basketball player of all time, he wanted to be the greatest to ever touch the hardwood floor, so he continued to work on his craft and took his game to another level for his sophomore year, as Emoni went off and continued to validate that he was the best prospect regardless of class. This kid was handing out 40-point games like Oprah hands out cars, dropping 40 points against Ypsilanti and Dexter, 42 against Jackson, and 48 and 13 rebounds against Detroit Catholic Central High, and the icing on the cake was that all these games resulted in wins. The kid was unmatched, as no matter how much teams game played for him, he just gave them the works. In his best game of the season, he decided that 40 wasn't enough and went on to give Chelsea High School a smooth 63 points to go along with 21 rebounds for good measure. Emoni's season was going great, but unfortunately he was unable to defend his state title as all winter sports were shut down due to the pandemic. Emoni would finish his sophomore season averaging 32 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals per game while shooting 50% from the field and 37% from 3, and leading his team to a record of 19-3. Emoni will also be named Gatorade National Player of the Year, becoming the first sophomore boy to ever win the award. He was also named Max Prep's National Sophomore of the Year, Michigan's AP Division I Player of the Year, and Michigan's Gatorade Player of the Year for the second year in a row. That summer, during an interview with ESPN, Emoni would declare that he was committed to Michigan State, as well that he intends to leave Lincoln High School and join Yosemite Prep Academy, a new prep school in Yosemite created by his father. The news was devastating for Lincoln, but they always knew that this might be a possibility and wished him the best on his basketball journey and thanked them for bringing so much acclaim to their school. Emoni's junior season will start on November 12, 2020 against Chet Holmgren, the class of 2021 top prospect, and Team Sizzle. Emoni would drop 36 points in a losing effort. Emoni's junior season would be an up and down season for him. He would have a few 30-point games and one 40-point game, but he struggled with efficiency, which was most likely due to his build, as Emoni was about 6'9", 160 pounds soaking wet. This would make it difficult for him to attack the paint, as the finish was starting to become too big and too physical around the rim, and as a result, he over-relied on tough shot making and setting for too many crossover pull-ups, which are hard to be efficient at. His performance during his junior season will eventually cost him to lose his spot as the number 1 prospect in the class of 2022 to Shaedon Sharpe and Jalen Duren. Eventually, Emoni would decide to reclassify to the class of 2021. He also decided to decommit from Michigan State and open up his recruiting options, where on August 25th, he announced his commitment to Memphis. He finished his junior season averaging about 23 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals per game, leading his team to a 7-3 record. Now, Emoni would start his college career as the youngest player in college basketball, and the problems actually would come pretty early for Emoni at Memphis, as since he committed so late, he missed the preseason workouts that would have helped him get more accustomed with his new team. Even with that being the case though, his debut still went fairly well, as he put up a season-high 17 points to go along with 4 assists and 4 rebounds, and he did this on really good efficiency. His next 2 games also went fairly well, dropping 15 points and 16 points respectively. But after the 3rd game, things started to go really poorly as the competition became more tougher. Emoni started to disappear on the court. Noticing his young star was starting to struggle with the bigger and stronger competition, Memphis head coach Penny Hardaway opted to play him at point guard in an attempt to alleviate some of the issues. But Emoni continued to struggle, as he had never been a point guard and did not have the lead ball handler / playmaking instincts you need to be able to play the position properly. To make things worse, Emoni also dealt with injuries throughout the freshman campaign, missing 3 games in December due to finger injury, and then 12 games including the AAC tournament towards the end of the season, and wouldn't make his return until March Madness, where his season would end against Gonzaga in the round of 32. Emoni would average around 10 points and 3 rebounds per game on the season while shooting the ball horrifically. After a pretty bad freshman season at Memphis, Emoni would decide to enter the transfer portal. He considered taking his talents to Michigan, Arkansas, Seton Hall, DePaul, or Louisville, before ultimately deciding on going back to the roots of his basketball journey, opting to attend Eastern Michigan in the MAC. Things would not get off to the best start for him there, as before the season started, Emoni would get pulled over on September 18th because he failed to stop at an intersection. While conducting the traffic stop, officers discovered a concealed handgun and arrested and charged Emoni with possession of a concealed handgun and altering ID marks on a firearm. The felony charges were later dropped, and Emoni was instead charged with a misdemeanor for unlawful transportation of a firearm. He was suspended by the team but was reinstated before the start of the season, but still went on to miss the first game of the season for undisclosed reasons. He would go on to make his debut for Eastern Michigan on November 11th against Michigan, where he dropped 30 points in a losing effort. Emoni would perform much better at Eastern Michigan, having multiple good performances such as his 36-point game against South Carolina, as well as a 35-point game against Ball State. His best game of the season would come against Toledo, where he scored 29 straight points in the first half and ended the game with 43 points. He would end up averaging 19 points and 5 rebounds on the season, but would still shoot the ball pretty poorly, as he only shot slightly over 40% from the field and 33% from 3. His performance landed him on the All-MAC 3rd team, And from an individual standpoint, his season was a success. But from a team standpoint, it was a massive failure as the team finished with a record of 8-23. On April 24th, Emoni declared for the NBA draft and received an invite to the NBA draft combine where he caught some attention. As of right now, he's projected as a late second round pick or to potentially go undrafted in the upcoming NBA draft. And that's the Emoni Bates story so far. He was once seen as a can't miss, once in a lifetime generational prospect whose basketball future is now in jeopardy. To me personally, Emoni's story is a cautionary one for both young athletes and the people who love them and want to see them succeed. I believe that Emoni surrounded himself with people who were close to him and people who had good intentions. Like, when you really look at it, his dad didn't overwork him or make him do anything he didn't want to do. And in all honesty, many times his dad would sit him down for a week or so just to make sure that he got proper rest. That shows that he cared about his son's well-being, and even though he knew his son was talented, he wanted to do right by his son. But just like the old saying goes, personal and business don't go together. Emoni's basketball journey was a business, as he definitely has a future in the game due to his talents, and while again I do believe that the people around him had good intentions and wanted to do what's best for him, I think it was ultimately to his detriment though, because I think that Emoni was way too influenced by the personal feelings he had for them, as he held their suggestions in high regard, like way too high regard. He sat out in 8th grade because his dad thought the competition was too weak to challenge. If he felt that way, why not get his son to like a prep school so he could play against the best competition in the world? Also, if you didn't think the competition was good in the 8th grade, why send him to a local public school in his area to start his high school career? Because more than likely those players aren't going to be much better, as most of them probably have played with Emoni. So again, if I feel the level of competition was a concern, it was best to send him to a prep school that travels the country and plays the best of the best, which would have helped Emoni a lot more because he would have been playing with better competition and playing with better players on his team. Another thing was that his father always wanted him to focus on his dribble pull-up so he could be good at hitting difficult shots. He did that while also suggesting for him to stay out of the paint because he didn't want him to be too efficient. Stuff like that is crazy to me, no offense. These are the type of things that Emoni probably needed a second opinion on from someone that's not in that inner circle, but he didn't get it, and it's causing him down because he's missed some crucial steps in his development. Honestly, the best thing for Emoni would have been to follow LaMelo and Lonzo's lead and how they got control of their basketball careers, as both Ball brothers had a lot of respect for their pops LeVar, but they realized that his influence and taking everything he said as the gospel was hurting their careers. So they ended up separating themselves and bringing in different people to help guide their journey. For Lonzo, that process started after he was traded to the Pelicans, and for LaMelo, he took control earlier when he decided he wanted to leave Lithuania and play high school basketball again. These decisions were probably tough for them, but they seen way more success after them, especially in the case of LaMelo, who's an all-star guard in the NBA. Now, the good news for Emoni is that he's still really young, and I still believe he has the talent to be an impact player at the next level. The only thing that's holding him back is him. He has to take the next step to fully realize the potential within him, and I still believe he can. Well, that's it for the video. I hope that y'all enjoyed it. If y'all made it this far, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.